And welcome to Mindfulness Practice with Paul Sugar. We'll start today with our warm-up exercises, starting with the 15-second mindful smile, combining the body scan with the smile. Then we'll move into the 2-minute mindful breath. And then from there, I'll introduce today's 8-minute practice. So let's start by getting into a comfortable position. Sitting, standing, walking, whatever works for you. Eyes are open, closed, or glancing down. And then smiling as big as you can, real big smile. Big smile, and then noticing what's going on in your body, your thoughts, your emotions, and your breath. Following the research, knowing that smiling combined with mindfulness practice is a good thing. Big smile. Okay, and now transitioning into our mindful smile. Our mindful breath. Guess I don't want to leave the smile behind because it is so much fun. So with the mindful breath, breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the nose. Once again, science tells us that that's the best way to keep our nervous systems in balance, is that nose breathing. So breathing in through the nose, noticing that slight pause, and breathing out through the nose. Fully experiencing the breath. Using the breath to anchor ourselves into the present moment. To anchor ourselves and connect deeply to the body. That's what helps to put the nervous system, the body at ease and keep us from getting stuck in the stress cycle. We use stress when we need it, but we don't want to hold on to it any longer than we have to. Breathing. Staying with the breath. Noticing how the breath rolls up from the belly and then rolls back down to the belly. Up into the upper torso, the shoulders, and then back down again. Noticing when the attention wanders and noticing where it goes. That's part of the practice. Each time we notice where it goes and bring it back, and we're building up that mindful muscle. Very simple practice, just staying with the breath, fully experiencing the breath as it is. In this moment, not needing to change anything. Fully accepting the experience of the breath. Noticing when the attention wanders and then just letting go of that. Coming back to the breath. Breathing. And opening our eyes now if they're closed. We want to finish up each practice with the eyes open for the purpose of building a seamless transition from our meditation practice into our everyday activity so that we get to practice that present moment experience, that mindfulness 24/7. Okay, so for today's 8-minute mindfulness practice, we're going to do some mindful eating. And I know I didn't announce this ahead of time, But it's such an important subject. It's such an important practice. So I thought I could just sit here and breathe for a minute or so while you go out and get something to eat. I'm going to use raisins today. They come in handy. But find something simple where you can engage your five senses. So just sitting here and breathing while you're going out to get the food. And if you happen to be watching a replay of this live stream, then you can just put it on pause and then come back and start it up when you've got your food with you. I see by messaging that people are going to get their food, their raisins. Deborah and Karen, I'll wait a few more seconds. Popcorn, don't let it get stuck in your teeth, Jordan. Okay, so why mindful eating? Because eating is a big, big, big deal. Did I say that eating is a big deal? Yeah. I rank it up there almost with meditation. It's close because I've discovered over many years of mindful eating, and it's out there in the research too, that eating has a profound effect on our ability to focus and pay attention and be in the moment. And there's so much confusion out there about what to eat and how much to eat. There's so many different diets that I decided that I'm going to simply defer to my mindfulness practice. So that, in other words, when I connect deeply enough to my body and I'm eating a certain kind of food, my body is going to give me some feedback and tell me, is this the kind of food that I should be eating, and how much of it should I be eating, and so forth and so on. Eating is also a fun thing to do, and it gives us an opportunity to go through the pathway of the five senses in order to connect to the body. Now, a lot of people do this with wine already. We've got some very professional wine tasters out there. And it's sort of like wine tasting, only doing it with food. So once again, this is just one half a notch behind meditation in importance. Very, very important. So let's start. And we can do this with our eyes open, eyes closed. I usually do it with my eyes open. And we'll go through all five senses using those same attention skills that we use in meditation, but doing it with eating. And so I'll take my first raisin here. There's my raisin. And we'll start by, whatever food you've got, we'll start by going through the sense of sight. And so just looking at the raisin. And just like in meditation, when we notice that our attention wanders, bringing the sight back to raisins or back to popcorn or whatever you happen to be eating today. Staying with the sense of sight, connecting to the body, to the present moment, through that sense of sight. And now shifting to the sense of touch. So just touching whatever food you happen to have with you. I find it helpful to look away while I'm doing my sense of touch. It helps to intensify that experience of touching. So now engaging that sense of touch. Just sitting silently, focusing in on that sense of touch with your food of choice. And if perchance you don't have food right now, just use your imagination. Pick your favorite food and imagine looking at it, touching it, and just go through this with the imagination. We know that the imagination is very potent and creates definite effects in the body. So just use your imagination if you don't have some food with you. And you can replay this later with some food. And now moving on to sense of hearing. So what I do is when I use a raisin, I just kind of squish it next to my ear and I can hear the squishiness. But if it's hard for you to get any sound out of the food of choice, then I just kind of tap my finger up against the raisin. And that allows me to engage that sense of hearing. Sense of hearing. And now moving on to sense of smell. So just smelling your food of choice, making that connection through that sense to the body. Noticing what experiences you're having as you're going through these five senses. How does it affect you in the present moment? What's going on with your body, thoughts, emotions, and breath? And then finally, sense of taste. So just popping it in your mouth, letting it sit there for a few moments before chewing it. And if you're going down that path of imagination, just imagining your favorite food now in your mouth and imagining what it's going to be tasting like. And then chewing it up. And just noticing what your experience is now that you're perhaps done chewing. You've been through all five senses. So you've now had the experience of anticipating food, eating food, and then the after experience of food. And all three of those parts are important in the practice of mindful eating. Did I mention how important I think mindful eating is? Very important. Okay, and so we'll do one more bit of food. I'll pick another raisin up. And I want to emphasize that it's not necessary to eat your food slowly. And so this next morsel of food, we're going to eat quickly because we don't always have a lot of time to eat leisurely like this. This is a luxury to be able to eat slowly and deliberately and mindfully like this. But when we don't have time, we can still eat mindfully. It's a different experience, but we can still eat mindfully, even if we're rushing. So I'm going to go through this one quickly. Okay, so sense of sight, looking at your food. Sense of touch, looking away from your food, but touching the food. And sense of smell. Sense of hearing. Tap, tap. And then finally tasting. Going through all 5 senses. All right, so reflecting on the 3 components of your mindful eating practice. What's your experience in anticipation of eating? What's the actual eating experience like? And then how do you feel after eating? That's a big clue too. That's part of how our bodies tell us what we should be eating and how much we should be eating. When we're tuned in and really connected to the body, you'll get clear signals from it as far as what to eat, how to eat it, how much to eat. So it becomes very, very important to eat our food mindfully. And of course, you can transfer this skill to wine and whatever other edibles you would like to transfer it to. And so this is the template that we use for mindful eating. It's also a good template for the way we can experience other things in our lives, where we can engage all 5 senses. There's lots of different ways to experience life in the present moment. And engaging all 5 senses is a great opportunity to do that. We don't always have the opportunity to use all 5 senses when we're engaging in life, and that's why it's so handy to do a mindful eating practice, because there's an opportunity for all 5 of the senses. Alrighty. So we've got time, I guess, for about, 1 question. The time goes fast. So any comments or questions about the mindful eating practice or anything else having to do with mindfulness? Happy to entertain comments and questions. Okay, here's one coming down the pike. This is an important one. They're all important. How long should I be practicing meditation? What period of time is ideal? And first, let me say that that's a very personal preference. I will answer that directly, but first let me hedge around the answer by saying that it's a very personal kind of preference. And the most important thing is that you practice on a regular basis, getting a routine going. Practicing regularly is really the key to how mindfulness works. But I have spoken to many people who actually meditate too long. It almost becomes an addiction, a way of escaping for them. So I kind of tend to watch that as well. Meditation can become an escape, and we don't want to use it that way. We want to use it as a positive influence in our lives, particularly when it's mindfulness meditation, because there's lots of different meditations out there. In the end, you want to practice, hopefully every day. Okay, now that I've beat around the bush long enough, I'm going to answer the question directly. I've found in my personal practice, and I find that other people feel the same way, that 30 minutes is a good amount of time to practice on a regular basis. I know people that practice longer than that. I know people practice it shorter than that. And I've experimented with all different kinds of times. But 30 minutes seems to be the sweet spot for a meditation practice. Now, that's not to say that when we go off to a retreat, we're not going to be practicing for much longer periods of time. But that's the exception. Retreats are something that we don't do that often usually. But for our daily mindfulness practice, 30 minutes, that's a good time. It's a good time. Gives you time to really make a connection to the present moment, to connect to the body, and really have a meaningful experience with your meditation practice. So I think that's about all we have time for today. And we'll finish up with our mindful body scan and smile. I like to call them the bookends because I always like to start the practice with the smile body scan and then finish up as well. So 15 seconds and we're done. So here we go with the big smile. And staying connected to the moment, to the body, thoughts, emotions, and breath. Big smile. Big smile. Alrighty then. Nice to be with you today. It was good spending time together. And once again, I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday, 4 o'clock Arizona time for 20 or 25 minutes of mindfulness practice. So have a great rest of the day, and hopefully I'll see you next week, or you'll see me on the reruns and be able to practice mindful eating with your choice of food. So you take care. Bye-bye.